Hello and welcome into the 19th edition of the Thoughts from the Bench podcast. This is Luke Jett, your host every week here at TFTB, and I am by myself today, riding solo, just trying to get a podcast out there for our faithful listeners, and I'll try to make it a good one just by myself, try to get my input, thoughts, and everything, and you know what? Why don't we just start it right away? We'll start with the big news in Blackhawks land that the Blackhawks have re-signed Patrick Kane and Jonathan Toews to 8-year deals each that are worth, I believe, $88 million each, which makes them some of the highest paid players in NHL history. And, you know, this is just a fantastic move by the Hawks. It was all coming. We knew it was coming. We didn't know exactly what day it was coming. Some said July 1st. Some said it would get over after the 4th of July holiday. And this came out Wednesday, so that would be yesterday. And it's great. You're going to market your two best players, and they're obviously two best players. They might be two of the best players in the NHL combined. Patrick Kane had a huge showing in the playoffs last year and the playoffs before, and they're 26 and 25 years old, and it's fantastic. You got to love that the Hawks are willing to spend big money on their guys, and they want to keep these guys in Chicago for as long as possible. And I know both of them have said that they would like to be in Chicago for a long time for the rest of their career, which is fantastic because they're just so fun to watch, and they make the Hawks good. And they're the two best players on the ice, and you'll know when they are out there. And they're great players, and I'm glad they're here for 8 more years. It's fantastic. He can't say enough about it. And with their salaries, it's going to be interesting to see how the Hawks kind of maneuver the salary cap. It's going to be interesting just because their salaries are going to be some of the highest in the NHL now. And there's a couple moves that could be made. Johnny Oduya and Brian Bickle could be two people on the move, just kind of trying to clear up space. I mean, you can always call up guys from Rockford and fill those spots. I mean, who would you rather have, Toews and Kane and a couple rookies, or guys that kind of show up every now and then in games, probably play like 10 games a year for the Hawks, or would you rather have Bickle and Oduya and one of these guys? Because you think the salary cap is so strict in the NHL, unlike different leagues. Maybe the NFL is probably the closest around it, but this salary cap is very strict, and you want to keep your best players. And they knew they were in for a big payday, and they've made moves to set themselves up. And it's time. I mean, we're trying to win a third cup in 6 years, and you want your best players on the ice at the time. And you know, if that gives up a couple veterans, I mean, that's what it takes. I mean, we're willing to do anything, and we're trying to win a cup. And I don't know if we talked about the Brad Richards signing on here, but I love that move for the Hawks. It kind of frees up the void that was there in the second line center position that the Hawks have been so adamantly trying to get, and trying to they're trying to maneuver somebody in there to make room and give time to develop for Teuvo Teravainen. I don't know how to say his name, but I know he's good. He's a young center, and I think he just needs a little bit more time to develop, a little more time to feel his way in there. And I think Richards is a very good bridging gap for that. And you can see Teuvo probably, he'll be up a couple times this year, maybe play a little bit, but you know, if he plays well, he's gonna stay up, and then he's just gonna start his career earlier. I think he played 3 games last year, and it was huge on Twitter. Everybody was all pumped up about it, and that's right where it's at. I mean, he's the future of the franchise, one of the future cogs of the franchise now that we got Kane and Toews locked up, and he's gonna be a big piece, and I think he's gonna do well, but I think more towards 2015, 2016 is when you're going to really see him start to contribute and play every game. he's going to be great. I'm excited to see him. And more big news around the Chicago sports landscape. Obviously, what was it, Friday? Yeah, July 4th. The big Jeff Samardzija, Jason Hamill trade for the Cubs. I'm kind of switching gears here a little bit. And this move netted top prospect, probably one of the top prospects in baseball, number 7 overall, I believe. Number 6, 7 overall, Jason Parks from Baseball Prospectus ranked him. Addison Russell, and also 2013 first round pick by the A's, Billy McKinney's an outfielder. Russell's a shortstop, and we also netted Dan Straley, who is a pitcher who's been up and down between the big leagues. He had a really good year last year for the A's. He was in the rotation all year. Kind of scuffled a little bit in April, and kind of struggling in AAA. But I think a change of scenery, kind of like Jake Arrieta last year, somebody who fell out of face with the organization, just coming up and maybe working with Chris Bosio, our pitching coach, and trying to figure some stuff out that weren't there in Oakland, and maybe the pressure is off of him, and maybe he could come out and pitch well for us. And he's kind of a back end of the deal piece. You don't really think about him, but Straley could be a very interesting pitcher going forward and cost controlled. And you'll probably see him up in the big league sometime soon. He's in Iowa right now. And Billy McKinney, he's an outfielder. He's young. I think he's I think he's 19, and he's in Daytona right now. He's young for his league, obviously, the Florida State League. He's probably probably a year and a half, 2 years younger than the average is. And he's kind of an outfielder, kind of see him in center, maybe a little bit left. His bat can move him places. It's not an elite bat, but he's pretty quality bat. I think MLB.com has him ranked 9th right now in Cubs prospects, which is, this system's loaded, so I think it's going to be good for him. And he's going to be in an outfield with Albert Almora, another top prospect in Daytona. That's going to be a fun team to watch if the rain ever holds up in South Florida. And the big piece of the deal is Addison Russell. He is a shortstop, and he's just a stud. He's 20 years old. He's in AA right now, AA Tennessee, and he's hitting right in front of Jorge Soler and Christian Villanueva, and he is just a beast. He had 2 hits tonight, his first 2 hits in the Smokies, and I think it's going to be a kind of a roll down effect. I think once he starts rolling, it's going to be fun to watch. He's going to get a lot of hits, and he's going to fill up the box score. And a lot of people say, well, you got Starlin Castro in the big leagues. Your top prospect's Javier Baez. Why would you trade for an Addison Russell? I think a lot of people are saying trade one of these pieces for a starter down the line. I don't really want that to happen. I would rather keep all 3 of these guys and try to spread them around the infield a little bit. I think you could fit Castro at short, Russell at third. He's kind of a big body guy. Russell at third, Baez at second. Kind of like that, kind of interchange them throughout the infield with Rizzo at first. I think that would probably be the best way to go, and then sign your pitchers out of free agency. Or maybe you get one that comes out of nowhere in your system and just dominates. We got Arrieta, Wood, Jackson for 2 more years in that rotation, and the competitive window is opening up. As Theo and Jet have said, it's opening. And I think Russell is going to be up next year sometime, probably second half. Bryant's going to start the year with AAA. Baez is going to start the year, or Bryant's going to start the year with the big league club. He's in AAA right now. Baez is going to start the year with the big league club. Arismendi Alcantara is already up in the major leagues. He had a 4-hit game today. He's probably here to stay, so that's just great. You could see the future kind of developing, and it's fun to watch as a fan. And I went to the game last night in Cincinnati. I kind of spur the moment thing and just kind of jumped in the car and went to the game. And there's a little bit of energy kind of around the team. You kind of look at these players, and you're kind of like, ooh, I can't miss Rizzo hitting now, or ooh, I can't miss Castro hitting. Oh, Alcantara's up. Ooh, I might have to see him hit. And it's interesting. It's gonna be fun to watch. I can't wait till about probably next year we're going to start being competitive. But this year we have to wait through it and whatnot. Now we'll switch to the other side of town, and my God, Jose Abreu. I mean, I'm just going to take a little bit and just dive on him right now. He is on fire. He in his last 6 games, he's hitting 333, 360 OBP, 667 slugging percentage, and OPS of 1,027. He's on fire. 2 more home runs in those 7 games. Give him 28 on the year, I believe. That's the league lead. Pretty close, I think. But I mean, Jose Abreu is just what a signing by Rick Hahn and Kenny Williams, just trying to find this guy. I mean, he was the huge piece in the Cuban free agency market this year, and the Sox nabbed him and a lot of people thought that the 6-year, $68 million deal that they gave him was, little on the sketchy side. I mean, you don't know. You're giving all this money to this guy who's never played in baseball before. Well, not baseball, but Major League Baseball before, and it's just you're like, I don't know. Are we spending a lot of this? A lot of what am I trying to say? I think, are we spending a lot of money on this guy who's never played before? I mean, he's 27. I mean, you don't know, but this is paying off. And Jose Abreu is a stud. He might compete for MVP if this, you know, he. I think he's gonna finish top 5. I really do. I mean, Mike Trout's just running away with. Mike Trout's just in a class of his own. I mean, it's ridiculous. But I think Jose Abreu could sneak into the top 5, and for a 4th place team like the White Sox are right now, I mean, that'd be really interesting. That'd be something you can market around. I mean, you got Chris Sale, you got Jose Abreu. I mean, you got the hitters, you got the pitchers. I mean, it's coming together slowly. It's coming together. I mean, the farm system's getting there. I mean, Carlos Rodon is going to help that out. I believe he signed yesterday, and he signed. So, I mean, that's huge. I mean, another lefty. He's going to move fast through the system as a college lefty. And you know what? Jose Abreu is someone you can market, and Jose Abreu has become one of those players that you are going to turn on the TV and watch. You are going to flip to the game and be like, oh, Jose Abreu's hitting? Like, you don't want to miss his at-bats right now. And he's a stud. He's unbelievable, and I'm glad he's in Chicago so I could watch him on a regular basis. Now, getting back to Chris Sale and Anthony Rizzo here a little bit, they both won the All-Star Final vote, which is fantastic. The Cubs had Starlin Castro and I guess Jeff Samardzija before he got traded. They both made the All-Star team. And Alexei Ramirez and I believe Jose Abreu are both All-Stars. Yep. Well, obviously Jose Abreu is, but yep, Jose Abreu and Alexei Ramirez both made the All-Star team for the Sox and Castro for the Cubs. And now Chris Sale got, I believe, 6.7 million votes for himself, and that led the AL obviously and won. And Rizzo got $8.8 million of the votes. I think Chris Sale led wire to wire. I mean, his stats are ridiculous. I mean, I don't know how he wasn't an All-Star before. I mean, good God, it is ridiculous. I mean, he missed 32 games and 6 starts at the beginning of the season. Yeah, that's fine with the muscle strain, whatever. That's fine. You're gonna disclude that. You're just gonna look at his stats, and he is 8-1 with a 2.08 ERA, 102 strikeouts, 16 walks. I mean, in 95 innings pitched, 64 hits. I mean, that's ridiculous. That's a below 1 WHIP. That's crazy. How is he not in the All-Star game before this? I was shocked. I'm like, oh, Chris Sale, what? Where was Chris Sale at? And he made the final vote, and that's great. I think he led wire to wire. I'm pretty sure, and much deserving. Chris Sale is one of the best pitchers in the AL. I'd probably put Felix ahead of him. Felix Hernandez. I mean, Yu Darvish is a stud. I think that might be it. I mean, Chris Sale might slide in there. He's just unbelievable. He's fun to watch. He's got that wacky delivery. You kind of think you're like, ooh, is his arm okay? And then he comes out and blazes the fastball by you, and he's just fun to watch. I watched him last year against the Tigers live at the Cell, and he was fun to watch. I'm really glad, as a Rayu, I'm really glad I could see him play every start, every 5th day, and hopefully he gets the ball for the start. That'd be kind of cool if Sale started the All-Star game? Probably not, but I bet he pitches sometime because he's one of the best pitchers in the AL. Going back to Rizzo here, he was 2% down from Justin Morneau late Wednesday for the All-Star vote, and then Cubs fans just went nuts. I mean, my Twitter timeline was hashtag vote Rizzo everything. I mean, it was just long. They got Rizzo in. He was 2.1 million votes more than Chris Sale, and Chris Sale won the AL. It's crazy. And it was a close race between Justin Morneau of the Rockies and Justin Upton of the Braves, and he beat him out. And that's awesome. It's fantastic. I love seeing Rizzo in. He got a little heated today. You'll admit that. He got a little heated, and but that's all right, you know. Rizzo was sticking up for his teammates, and him and Chapman gave him that kind of like glove wag, and he was ready to roll. I mean, Chapman was talking crap in the dugout. He went over the dugout, and Rizzo's kind of a guy that at 24 years of age, you can rally around and you could say, oh, this guy's going to be here for a long time. Him and Castro, they're both 24, and both of them are going to be here for a long time, and it's fantastic because, again, I mean, these young players are coming through the Cubs and White Sox systems, and you're like, wow, I get to watch these guys every day. I get to cheer on these guys. These guys are playing for my favorite team, and it's awesome. I mean, Rizzo's a stud, Castro's a stud, Sale's a stud, Abreu's a stud, and it's great. I mean, once both of these teams get more depth and more stars, like the Cubs are coming with the prospects and everything. I mean, the Sox have never been scared and shied away from spending money to try to get those stars, and it's going to be fun. I mean, baseball in 2 or 3 years in Chicago, it's going to be fun. I mean, both teams are going to be competitive. I mean, it's going to be like 2008 all over again when they both won the division. I mean, that was great. I mean, you just looked around and everybody's wearing Cubs or White Sox stuff. I mean, I don't really get the rivalry. I think you should just cheer for the city of Chicago as a whole, but it's fun. I mean, it's great to be a Chicago baseball fan, and it will be for a long time. Hopefully these guys can stay. These guys can get locked up. Like Rizzo and Castro are already locked up. I mean, Abreu's here to stay. Sale's still early, but you know what? I hope they both stay. And reaching back into the obvious big news in Bulls land, Carmelo Anthony. His name has came up and been shot down by everybody and then come back up. My sense was yesterday, I tweeted this out, I think. I said, have fun not winning a ring, because I thought he was going to New York. I saw reports that he was going back to New York at the max, and you know what, I wouldn't mind him going back there. I mean, I wouldn't like it, obviously. I wish he was going to the Bulls, but him going to the Knicks, I mean, you can't pass up that much money. I mean, I understand that, but if he would have went to the Lakers, okay, that was a full money grab, full attention, and you're not going to win a ring. The Lakers aren't close. Kobe's old. I mean, you don't know what you're going to get with Julius Randle. There's not enough shots in the world to go around on that team with Melo and Kobe at the same time. I never understood that. And then the Bulls kind of always hung around, been that third team that and the Bulls are close. And the Bulls are close. And kind of yesterday, you kind of got the sense that, okay, the Bulls are out of it. It's over. And then Stephen A. Smith today, I mean, good old Stephen A. Smith came out and said that Carmelo was leaning somewhere and regained his interest in the Bulls. I don't know what it was. Maybe Derrick Rose shot him a text finally. Who knows? But Stephen A. Smith also said, or was it Mike McGraw? Let me look here real quick. Mike McGraw from the Daily Herald said that Tom Thibodeau is playing a huge role in keeping Melo interested in the Bulls, and that's fantastic. You want your coach to do that. I mean, Thibodeau is one of the up and coming coaches in the league. He might be top 5 coach in the league. I mean, he gets so much out of his team, and who would have thought that the Bulls would have won 45 plus the last 2 years without Rose? Nobody. I mean, it's just great that we have a coach that is big on this. I mean, it's fantastic. And then Ken Berger of CBS, I've never seen his name before, but hey, he said that Melo's intentions have not been communicated to the Bulls, sources say, but Chicago has cap clearing moves teed up. which is interesting. That the Bulls probably Dunleavy, maybe Butler, maybe not Butler, Boozer, maybe a couple things, clear up some cap space, get Melo to that $19 million kind of plateau he's been looking for. We're only at like 17, I think 16, 17 mil. Maybe if you can get rid of a Dunleavy, maybe you can get rid of a Snell and these two players and kind of open up that cap space. You add Melo to your team and you're an instant contender in the East. You might be the best team in the East. It's a cakewalk. It depends where LeBron goes and what happens with that big three, and I'll talk about that in a second. But you look at that team with Melo, Taj, Mirotic coming over, and I heard his cap hit's not going to be big, which is huge. Noah, you don't know what you're going to get with Rose. Butler, that team looks legit, and it's gonna be great. I hope it happens. Who knows what's going to happen? It comes up. Hopefully in the next couple days he announces, and I think he's just waiting for LeBron. And LeBron has said, I think it made it clear that Cleveland's a big possibility. I think Chris Broussard labeled it as an 85% chance he goes to Cleveland. If he goes to Cleveland, we talked about this on the podcast before, but I think that all bridges are mended. Dan Gilbert, the owner of the Cavs, has taken off his letter to LeBron or whatever off the website, and I think it's great. It'd be fun for the NBA to kind of get rid of that villain tag off of LeBron if he went back to the Cavs. Local kid coming home, he's got his rings. Now he wants to bring Cleveland a championship, and Kyrie Irving teamed up with him. Andrew Wiggins, top draft pick. That team would be fun to watch, and it would compete with the Bulls if Melo goes there. And if LeBron goes there, you're talking about the dismantling of the big three. You got to imagine Wade's probably staying in Miami. He's spent his whole career there. He's probably staying there. Bosh has got a max contract in Houston, and it's offered. And I don't know why Chris Bosh, in any reason, should turn down a max deal. Maybe if LeBron, I think he said if LeBron leaves, he's leaving, which, I guess you're going to try to win another ring with the best player in the world, but in reality, you're going to go to a place with Dwight Howard, James Harden. If you got a max deal, it's going to be interesting to see if he accepts that, because I don't know why he wouldn't. His max contract is money, but then again, then we're doing the same thing about the Melo thing. Why wouldn't he take the money? But I don't know. It's going to be interesting. It's coming up. It's got to be soon. Today's the signing date that players can officially sign, so maybe something's in the works right now. Who knows? Maybe we'll wake up tomorrow and LeBron will be in Miami and Melo will be in LA, or Melo in Chicago, Melo in New York, LeBron in Cleveland, Bosh in Houston. Who knows? Who really knows at this point? They're not really budging on anything, and we're just gonna have to wait and see if anything happens. That's about it. And going into my final thought here, we're gonna go back to the Cubs, since a huge Cubs fan here. But Arismendi Alcantara came up, and he was only supposed to be here for 2 days with the Darwin Barney. He's on paternity leave for his wife. He's having his third kid, which congratulations to the Barney family. And Alcantara came up, went 0 for 4 yesterday. I was at his debut in Cincinnati, as I said before. Took the 5-hour drive, spur of the moment. Went 0 for 4 with 2 strikeouts. I'm thinking, okay, this kid's gonna be a stud. You could just see him kind of working the counts. Strikeouts were always going to be an issue. They were always high. They've been high throughout every level. And he works up today. 4 hits, triple, double, two infield singles, and he can burn. He could fly. And you could see on his infield singles, they showed the baseline cam, and he was moving. It was ridiculous. And I'm excited to watch him, and I think that's that cookie that Cubs fans needed, that he's going to provide them until the big names get up. He's a huge prospect by himself. Jason Parks ranked him the 18th best prospect in baseball in his midseason top 50. So he's no slouch, but the big names that everybody knows, the Bryants, the Baezes, the Russell when it comes up here, the Soler, the Almora. This guy's lost, and he's a stud. He could fly. Comps to Jose Reyes. He's He's going to be a great addition, and he could play second. He's a natural shortstop. Had to move off second because of Javier Baez. So yes, it is possible that shortstops can move. And he's also played in some outfield in center field. And Tommy Birch podcast guest said he looks like a natural out there. So it's going to be very interesting to see how everything works out with the Cubs and their shortstop dilemma. But Alcantara's a cookie right now, and enjoy Cubs fans because I think he's staying up for a little bit, as the front office has said. All right, well, there's not much discussion on our number 19 of the week, as it's going to be the guy who just got an extension, Jonathan Toews, and I don't think anybody can object to that. And that'll do it for the 19th edition of the Thoughts from the Bench podcast. You can follow us on Twitter at Shy Bench Thought. You can like us on Facebook at Thoughts from the Bench. You can find our podcast on iTunes and Stitcher, and you can also listen to us on YouTube if you prefer to do that. And next week we'll be back with Austin, and we got a couple guests lined up. So keep it here and keep listening to the Thoughts from the Bench podcast. See you next week.